right, let's talk this boxing this fine morning. I hope everything is going well for everybody. Hope you had a good night's sleep. Got you up early in the morning to holler at your boy, Fannon International Boxing. My man, Adrian Vint, salute King, always positive to see you. The first cat in the chat most mornings. You and my man, Viva Tu Vida, live your life. Good morning to you. Hope all is well. Man, it definitely makes me happy to see you guys in the morning. Viva said he's working with his plants. And, oh, let me make sure I got something that I need. Oh, I got something that I need. Um, uh, Viva said, working with my plants and ready for this boxing conversation. Yeah, man, we're going to talk about Gervonta Tank Davis. We're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez and talk about whether or not these guys are really, if they're actually ducking fighters or whether or not they're really, doing what they need to do to advance themselves in their career. Because, at the end of the day, for the fighters, what they need to do is they need to make money. And there's that balance that needs to be struck between giving the fight fans what they want to see and giving and, making the money that you need to make. But, personally, dude, I think that, Canelo Alvarez is a little bit on the other side of that medium, unless he's able to get this fight with Caleb Plant made. But even then, but I want to get your takes on that as well. We'll get into that in the discussion as we go. Okay, hopefully this will not be a big buffering day, but I got a suspect internet connection. I got to replace my I got to replace my internet provider, man, at the like post haste, because this thing with AT&T's whack. But anyway, I was saying, what's going up, show Scotty, and hope I don't tick off AT&T when I say that, because I need their connection to be what's up. Be Easy in the building said, Grand Rising, Martin. Looking forward to another session of boxing. Yes, sir. Likewise. Most definitely looking forward to talking to boxing with you guys. Today, though, make sure you guys put, like as always, put specific questions in the comments section that you want to have addressed, because in this live stream, I like to be very interactive. And if you're listening to me, I want to be able to get to know what you're thinking and know what you want to talk about. AC Padilla said, that's my one friend in Omaha, Nebraska. I've been getting on Terrence Crawford too much, but it is what it is. It's got to be what it's got to be. Mr. in the building said, morning, Martin in chat. Good morning to you, sir. Slugfest said, Boots versus Erickson Lubin. That would be a terrific fight, man. An absolutely terrific fight. And I'm telling you, I got Boots in that one, but I do see Erickson Lubin being able to come back and have and coming back from that knockout loss he had to Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo's a hard hitter, man, and he just caught him, man. If he comes back and he's more judicious and protects himself from that, that scenario, man, he can really come back. But my take on it really is that I would give the advantage to Boots in that. Hold on one second. Chillville in the building. I'm chilling, man. Just talking about this boxing, man. Hope everything's well with you. You know how it goes. Just talking to boxing, man. Packroyd said Tank is going where the money is. The guy is reaching superstar level. Yeah, I don't think you can do that though. I don't think you can reach super stick 'em. Ha ha ha, stick 'em. I don't think that you can make it to superstar level. The risk reward is always going to be wind up being heavily in favor of the reward. And when you think like that, All right, there you go, man. Sorry about that. I'm about to. All right, sorry about that. They kind of jacked me up right there. Hopefully, this thing won't do me too wrong, man. My man, in Wrath, the boss said, "Philly in the house, peace and blessings." Yes, sir. Be easy. It looks like Crawford is avoiding any smoke with the good fighters. Look, yeah, I don't know. Terrence Crawford, I think, might. Okay, I'm gonna try to switch. Give me 1 second here, man. I gotta try to make a. I gotta make a jump. See if I can get on this other. Come on. All right, there you go. I had to jump real quick to see if I could get a better connection off of my telephone and not necessarily have to deal off this internet. So I switched my deal. Chillville in the building, man. What's going on, man? I'm chilling. I can't complain. But like I was saying before I got cut off, man. Like I was saying before I got cut off, I think there's a thin line between chasing the money and making sure that you're having the fights that you really need to have where you can really get a lot of interest behind your name, man, because most of the real big stars came from taking chances, right? And taking the big fights that everybody wants to see instead of just trying to like choreograph your way through your career. Because right now, it looks like Canelo Alvarez is right now, he's just very, very choreographed. Like you know what type of fighter he's gonna fight next. You can almost tell what the demogra what the bio what do you call it the demographics are that they're going for in every fight. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Mayweather promoting Floyd Mayweather did. But Floyd Mayweather did that after he had already finished crossed the finish line. So the idea that you're going to be able to like some way, it's like you're trying to go for safe money versus being able to go for the big money down the line. But at the same time, dude, for the people that are paying for the fights, that the way that you grow your fan base is to combine two different fan bases. And if all you're doing is really just it's a really tough situation, man. It's a tough situation, and you gotta walk that thing lightly. I mean, tread that line. But for me, it just appears that the worst thing about all of this stuff is that the fights really are not happening, man. AC Padilla said, "I understand, Martin. I don't understand the logic of a non-white fighters signing with Top Rank. There's not a lot of logic to that. Honestly, man. What's going on, man? Ringside LCD in the building, man. I haven't seen you in a minute, man. What's going on, dude?" He said, "Looks like the WBC don't want you to drop these truth bombs, man." Yeah, I just got a bad connection, man. I messed up when I switched from Google Fiber to AT&T, and now AT&T like goes out in the morning times. It just kind of messed up, man. But I'm using my mobile hotspot on my phone, so the connection may not be the best, but hopefully, it seems like it got a little bit more stable. You know what I mean? But but as far as Gervonta Davis, like for Gervonta Davis, I don't think has made it to superstar status. I think he's going to have to fight some of those big fights that are down at 135 pounds, man. Like he would get, in my opinion, Gervonta Davis gets more at, if he was to beat a Teofimo Lopez, that is bigger than any other fight that I can think of for Gervonta Davis right now is the Teofimo Lopez fight. But, there obviously is that the barrier between Top Rank and Top Rank and hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. Had to do something. But yeah, but let me know. What do you guys think about it, man? Let me know in the comment section real quick. Let me go to a couple comments. I don't want to run my mouth forever. My man Mike Rhymes said, "I just don't like it. Sometimes you cannot get the top fighter, but you can stop the up and coming fighters and still get credit. Yeah, what do you who did you say would necessarily do that, man? I haven't really witnessed an up and come big star stopping an up and coming fighter, because I don't see Canelo Alvarez, for example, fighting any up and coming fighters. He's fighting straight up and down tomato cans from what I can see. That doesn't look like the scenario where he's, beating up and coming fighters, unless you by that you mean like Caleb Plant, unless you consider like Caleb Plant an up and coming fighter, which I can understand how you may think of him as an up and coming fighter, even though he's later in his 20s. Slugfest said once Canelo clears 168, he will make the big fights. He already said that, but that Andrade fight, I don't know. To be honest, I don't care about that fight anyway. Yeah, well, you say you don't care about the Demetrius Andrade fight. Why wouldn't you care about the Demetrius Andrade and Canelo Alvarez fight? That seems like a really good fight. I mean, I wouldn't say that it needs to be, necessarily put ahead of all the other fights, right, that are there. The biggest fight for Canelo Alvarez for me is the Jermall Charlo fight, even though it seems like after he had some struggles against Montiel that there's been a little bit of a damper put on that fight, but still think that's the biggest fight that Canelo could have is the Charlo fight. But Demetrius Andrade, I like he's a guy that just messed up early in his career, man, and made some, or at least, I don't want to say messed up because I'm sure he's making good money and all that, but man, did you hear about DAZN? Like DAZN doesn't even have any American fights on their roster for the rest of the year. So, like the dates that DAZN was giving to all of these fighters and promise them all these dates, man, that stuff is starting to go away for American fighters. I think that they need to all about to start jumping ship up out of there. There's no more dates for either of Matchroom in the U.S. or Golden Boy in the U.S. for the rest of the year. That's pretty whack. That's pretty whack in my opinion. Mr. Malambo said Top Rank and PBC can't even make Crawford versus Porter right now, so making Tank versus Lopez is even harder. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter other than what my man Fahim Sator is always saying, which is that he doesn't believe that fight's going to happen at all. Fahim should be in the building in about 20-25 minutes to drop that dime on me, man. So word champs are tomato cans for Canelo. Oh, world champs are tomato cans. Depending on the world champ. I mean, right now we've got a ton of we've got, that there's a bunch of champs right now. You've got 4 championship belts, 4 major sanctioning bodies. Then you've got at least 6 champions in every weight division, 6 champions in each weight division. If you count some of the WBC's secondary belts, yeah, some of those guys are chumps, man. Like Callum Smith. I mean, do you think Callum Smith was some world beater or something? Rocky Fielding. How about we just stick with Rocky Fielding and Yaldemir? Rocky Fielding, Yaldemir, Callum Smith. Yeah, dude, I would say that those guys are tomato cans, and as well as Sergey Kovalev later on, who was well past it and already been knocked out 2 times. So, his days had already been numbered, man. So, yeah, dude. Be Easy said Canelo is definitely cherry-picking D-class fighters. Yeah, they're definitely not A-level fighters, man. Canelo Alvarez hasn't fought an A-level fighter since Gennady Golovkin. If you want to consider Gennady Golovkin Gennady Golovkin, I think it's fair to say he was an A-level fighter at the time that they were fighting. But Gennady Golovkin ever since Gennady Golovkin, I can't really say that Canelo Alvarez looked like he was really fighting anybody. You know what I mean? So at least that's at least Billy Joe Saunders. Donito Lopez said, why don't you mention that Rocky Fielding was after 2 GG fights? Canelo can't have tune-ups. Yeah, sure, he can have a tune-up, but if you look, okay, Rocky Fielding, he moved up in Rocky Fielding, he's obviously can have tune-ups because there's a bunch of tune-ups on his record. Yeah, he can clearly have tune-ups. What did he have a tune-up before Gennady Golovkin? He had He had, what's his name? How many tune-ups do you need exactly? I'm wondering, you know? But I'm not saying that, look, man, Canelo Alvarez, the best defense for Canelo Alvarez is that Canelo Alvarez is in a situation where he's fighting for the zone, and the zone wants to see him fight certain fighters. I don't think it's a coincidence that once he signed with the zone, that he started fighting a bunch of European fighters who were represented by Matchroom. You know what I mean? So there's going to be a certain amount of that in there where you're going to just wind up having people that are, in that situation, That's what I see anyway. Says Slugfest, why is Canelo ducking all of the top competition? I mean, I don't think, that's pretty much, it's kind of tough for him for that not to be the scenario for somebody to say that to him. But I think that the biggest issue is the promoters, man, because the promoters are the ones that really do set it up like in a bad situation for the fighters themselves, because it looks like the fighters are ducking. What's going on? Copper Aborigines in the building. Say greetings, brother Martin Blackwell, Fannon International Boxing, and to everyone in the chat this morning. Yes, sir. Shout out to everybody in the chat this morning. We got a slow morning in this boxing, man. Boxing. I just want this stuff to get better, man, so boxing can pick it up, man. You know what I mean? Boxing just got to pick it up, dude. There's I guess it was a really kind of a big hurtful thing when the fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Manny Pacquiao got canceled. That was the thing that kind of got me feeling like, how can we improve boxing, man? And I'm going to start so I felt this morning like the need to talk about that. Like, what in the world can be done where maybe something can be done with the fans, where fans can stick together more and put like more pressure. But the boxing fan bases are so diametrically opposed from each other that it's very hard to get any type of real momentum on, towards pushing towards any solution, because it's just the fan bases are so segregated. I mean, there's a lot of segregation in fan bases with other fights as well. But exactly, yeah, facts, Martin. It's the promoter. It's the promoters. The fans should be putting pressure on promoters. Yeah, but the difficulty with Slugfest saying Andrade fought nothing but my grocery store clerk. Man, come on, man. Give Demetrius Andrade a little bit more credit than that. But I mean, he doesn't have a super stellar. Look, man, Donito Lopez. Look, I understand what you're saying about Canelo Alvarez and this undefeated champ stuff, but those are not the guys that were at the top of the division. They're not the guys that people were thinking were the best fighters in boxing. Just because you go and find, that's called cherry picking. When you go try to find somebody that's in a position that, like, for example, like Callum Smith, right? Callum Smith was an undefeated champion, but how did he get his belt? And where was he when he got undefeated? And what did he fight Canelo like? He came out of the UK. I'm not even sure how many times he fought outside the UK. He got his belt in that World Series, the World Boxing Super Series, WBSS, which really didn't have a lot of real good competition in it. And it was just a weak division. I mean, 168, number one, is a weak division. There's not a lot of really good champions in the 168-pound division. It's one of those betweener weight classes, and so no, dude, I don't think that he's an A-level fighter just looking at how the guy fought. You know what I mean? Just because somebody's undefeated and a champion does not mean that they're one of the top fighters in the division. I mean, just for real. That's just obvious when you look at it, man. And some of these guys, when they get in the ring, the fight goes exactly the way we think it was going to go when they got in the ring, that they were going to get beat and the fights weren't even going to be competitive. I mean, do you tell me you believe that Canelo Alvarez is fighting in a time when there's nobody that can be competitive with him? That doesn't make sense to me, seeing as he had competitive fights when he was fighting on Showtime. He had competitive fights, but all of a sudden he gets to the zone and there's nobody that can be competitive with him. those guys that he's fighting, that he's fighting wouldn't be competitive with the guys that we want him to fight. I'm not going to give, at least I don't really pay any big credence to Callum Smith being able to beat Jermall Charlo or Callum Smith being able to beat Demetrius Andrade. I think it's just going to be the same beatdown that Canelo Alvarez gave to him. I mean, if you look at how Callum Smith literally just stood there, took 2 steps back, got punched in his arms until he was into submission. I mean, what kind of boxer is going to sit there and your go-to move is just beat his arms up and crack his arms until he submits from getting hit in the arm? That, to me, that's a skill level. You're fighting a guy that can't get out of the way at all, you know? So it's just, to me, nah. Slugfest, Demetrius Andrade looks subpar against subpar competition. Honestly, dude, I've never seen Demetrius Andrade look subpar. I think that he doesn't necessarily have the most knockout power in the world, but you know, at the same time, dude, I wouldn't say that he looked like he was subpar, you know? Dave Esamaro said Canelo versus Benavidez, Tank Davis versus Josh. Those are the fights I want to see, but these champions don't want that heat. And that would be a great fight. I think at 168, that probably is the best fight for Canelo Alvarez at 168 is David Benavidez. David Benavidez's problem, though, Davey, is that David Benavidez keeps losing, that he lost his way out of that belt 2 times. So it's hard to really think about whether or not, you know, David Benavidez is going to be reliable enough to really, you know, be there for a Canelo fight, because you just never know. You just never know with the guy. But, you know, yeah, anyway, that's my thing. That's my thing about it. Danito Lopez winning the World Boxing Super Series is more than anything Charlo or Andrade have done in the division. Why do you say that? Do you know who he beat for that belt? He beat Callum Smith for that belt. Why is that? Why would that necessarily be the biggest thing that he has going? Is that he beat George Groves? You know, that to me looked like a domestic. I remember that tournament, dude. That was like a domestic tournament for the UK. But, you know, if you think that the guys if you think those guys are world beaters, then okay, those guys are world beaters. Man, Slugfest, you really feeling yourself today, man. Charlo is the biggest duck in boxing, ducking Benavidez and Andrade. I disagree. I don't think he can duck. He definitely didn't duck. He didn't duck Benavidez, because then Benavidez is a 168 and Jermall Charlo is at 160. I don't see the duck, man. C-Cut, man, I'm chilling, man. Just talking, you know, chilling out in a small group of people today, saying what's up. Hope it's all well. Hope all is well. Let me know if you guys have any questions off this topic, though, because we don't just have to talk about this topic. Adrian Vint said, "How the fuck is Charlo the biggest duck when you have Fury and Canelo himself?" Man, I never thought about Fury being a duck, but Fury's trying to duck out of those fights. That's for dang sure. You know. My man Copper Aborigine said that's why Andrade has always been avoided. He's that good. His boxing is off the chain. Yeah, that's also something we should want to pay attention to. The fact that some of these guys are not getting these fights because of how good they are, but you can wind up looking so good that, you know, people do not want to fight you, don't want to fight you. What's going on, Mutant Savior? How you feeling this morning, man? I hope all is well with you. Canelo been avoiding Charlo for years. Big facts, no doubt about it, man. Roderick Freelo. Jermall is my 3rd favorite fighter, but he definitely says is a little shy about fighting Boo Boo. Yeah, I don't agree with that one right there, man. I think they need to change their tune on fighting on that whole Boo Boo thing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a fight that's there to be made. It's a unification fight that's there to be made. And, you know, I think that's what they need to do, man. They need to have that fight. Andre Banks Said if boxing is a business, right? Let's use that context. Why would I be fighting the best competition? I would be fighting good enough competition and building my brand. New era. Floyd changed everything. Well, let me tell you, that sucks for the fans. That sucks for the fans for if that's the type of situation. What's going on, Fahim Sator? Now the chat has started because my man Fahim Sator is in the building. Look, man, that shit sucks for boxing, dude. That attitude, just fight good enough competition where you can keep winning, and how you need to have that zero. I mean, honestly, man, that shit's going to wind up driving these guys, it doesn't drive viewership, as you can see with DAZN, because DAZN wasn't able to really get their foot in the door in the United States, because it seems like they're about to, if they're not pulling out, they at very least don't have American fights on their card. They have most of their fights for the rest of the year going on over in the UK. So, I don't know. Said, what's up, Martin? Jaquise Martin said, what's up, Martin? Few things. Boots is that guy. Tank ain't fooling me. And 3, Canelo hates smoke with black fighters. Yeah. Canelo, it seems like Canelo has those problems with black fighters. Otherwise, he'd be fighting more. But I guess you can't find them you can't find them in Great Britain. Guess you can't find them in Great Britain. Andre Banks said, not enough competition, bro. What if all these dudes already fought? Somebody gonna be hurt? Yeah, but if they fought, then they could go and fight again. That's the change of that's the difference between fighting today versus people that were fighting before. You had a bunch of fights like with Ernie Shavers in the 70s where he might have lost a fight, but he still was Ernie Shavers, still got a chance to come back and have another really good fight. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't get this whole thing where, if you lose a fight, then that means you just lost a fight and that's it. You're never going to ever get, another chance to have a fight again. That's the kind of crazy stuff, Unknown said Floyd didn't change everything. When they said Floyd couldn't beat him or fight him, he did. He won. Excuses piled up. Only issue that I would have with that is it didn't seem like he really fought a lot of dudes at welterweight. But no joke, man. Floyd is different though. Like Floyd did it the right way, if you ask me. The way that he did his career, or it turned out you don't have as many boxers as you did. That's all more reason for these guys to fight each other. Floyd Mayweather Jr. to me did it the right way. He had an early part of career where he was really fighting the best fighters that were around in his weight class. Man, much love in that super chat from Michael Kirkland. Thank you for the support. He said, why people acting like Duckins knew? Nobody ducked more than Tyson, and he was considered great. He never even had a decision. He never even had a decision loss. Why do you say that Tyson? You talking about Mike Tyson? The only Mike Tyson never ducked anybody. Mike Tyson fought everybody that he could have fought in his time. He fought Michael Spinks. He fought Larry Holmes. He fought Evander Holyfield. He fought Lennox Lewis. I mean, I don't think Mike Tyson was ducking. Mike Tyson was taking on a lot of tough fights. Matter of fact, Mike Tyson took on fights where you pretty much knew that he was past his prime and had already been to jail and came out during that time, during like what would have been the prime of his career. I don't know. Mike's prime was probably in the early to mid 1980s. By the time the 90s rolled around, he was a little bit past it. But I don't believe Mike was necessarily known for ducking. And yes, he's definitely considered great, but he's considered great because he had great fights. He really did tear it up early in his career, and he fought Evander Holyfield twice. He took the rematch. Now, what he did in the rematch is something else, like the fact that he got in there and he bit somebody's, tried to bite somebody's ear off. That ain't necessarily the best thing, but anyway, man, Michael Kirkland, much love in that super chat for sure. My man Dice 1997 said, so be okay with boxing taking advantage of fans for the fighters boxing taking advantage of fighters for the fans' sake? No, I think that it's a balance, man. I think that it's a balance, but I'm not okay with boxers taking advantage of the fans for the boxer's sake. You know what I mean? Like the way you ask that question, it's like either I feel like I've got to get taken advantage of because I'm a boxing fan, and to tell you the truth, most of the boxing fights that I pay for that they call championship fights are really not the championship fight. They're a bunch of make-believe fights, make-believe championship fights, dude. They're not real. They're not really the best guy fighting the best guy. Whenever we're come up against a scenario where it's the best guy fighting the best guy, something happens, like they say that they can't make the fight, or one guy will move up weight classes and go fight somebody else, but then claim that because they moved up to another weight class, that's better than them having beaten the best guy in the weight class that they came from. You know what I mean? It's just, it's kind of silly, man. You know, and I don't think that it's a scenario where, you know, it's either or, where it's got to be like either you're going to give the fan everything and the boxer gets nothing, or the boxer is going to get everything and the fan gets nothing. But right now, the way that they have this thing structured is that the fans aren't really getting the fights. I mean, look at Gervonta Davis and how many fights that there are to be had at 135 pounds, and how many fights you actually think we're going to get, right? Now, I know that what Mayweather's doing is he's guiding his career, and they're trying to make the biggest fights that they can make, which means that they got the broadest interest that they can have. But I also think that that is a little bit of a ruse, because they're trying to say that it's going to be I want to get the biggest fight that I can get made that is safe and that my fighter can win, so that he can go on to his next fight and be undefeated, or it's somebody that we know he can get a knockout, so he can get he can continue his knockout streak. Dude, that's the type of thing that people used to do with prospects, where you're setting up a prospect and you're grooming a prospect. All they did now is change the champion and start moving a champion like the champion's a prospect. When you're a champion, you're supposed to take on all comers, and all comers for like Gervonta Davis at 130 pounds, there's Oscar Valdez. It's Gary Russell Jr. if Gary Russell Jr. would move up and take the fight, right? It's Teofimo Lopez. It's if it was at 140, it's Josh Taylor. Those are the best fighters in those weight divisions. So like, but if you just keep moving your champion like your champion's a prospect, I think you're taking advantage of the boxing fan. Because you're selling, and then you sell the idea that these fighters are the best because all of them are doing it. Now, I'm going to tell you somebody who's not doing that, and it's unfortunate that he keeps getting in accidents and having injuries. Got in that accident and got injuries is Errol Spence, because Errol Spence Jr. is not doing that. Errol Spence Jr. is fighting, at least he's fighting the best fighters that are available to him in his weight class, man. And I'm telling you, that's one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of Deontay. Matter of fact, I'm a big fan of Deontay Wilder, and I'm a big fan of Errol Spence Jr. Because those guys both were, when Deontay Wilder was a champion, he wanted to fight the best fighter that was out there. And Anthony Joshua tried his best to make the fight with Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn or Anthony Joshua just didn't want the fight. He tried to make the fight, and when he couldn't fight anybody, right, he fought Tyson Fury, and he still went to court to get his second fight with Tyson Fury. That's a guy that really wants to fight, that absolutely wants to fight the best. So the same thing and I'm saying that's the same thing with Errol Spence Jr. He behaves as somebody that absolutely positively wants to fight the best, and he should get full credit for that, man. You know, that's me. You know what I mean? Adrian Vent said Andrade got played like Luis Ortiz. Dude, there's a lot of fighters getting played like that, man. Lot of fighters getting played like that. Gary Russell Jr. is getting played like that. But I don't know who that is that's playing. I know it's a combination, because the top guys in Gary Russell Jr.'s weight class won't fight him, but Gary Russell Jr. won't fight, I guess Journeyman, or I don't know who they're offering him to fight, but there's a bunch of fighters that get played like that. When they look like they're too risky and they have the ability to upset the apple cart, they get blackballed. And it's real clear that they get blackballed. And the only way to fix that, I think, is what the what the Association of Boxing Councils is talking about doing, which is decertifying some of these these sanctioning bodies until they get their act together, because all they're doing is avoiding the Muhammad Ali Act for sure. You know, they're trying to do things in a manner where they get away with not having their best fighters, their fighters fight the best competition. At least the promoters are doing it, and in order to get extra revenue from the promoters and get a cut of the network's money, they're creating all these extra belts and creating these extra champions, which creates all these log jams, like the log jam that we got at 135 pounds, man. So I think it's just an all around bad thing, you know. It's all around, and it needs to be changed, definitely, man. Copper Aborigine said Bob was folding Floyd up just like he's doing Terrence Crawford. Nah, honestly, Copper Aborigines, it's the opposite. Terrence Crawford is not fighting any top-notch competition. When Bob Arum had Floyd Mayweather, he was continuously fighting tough fights. I mean, not a lot of people, some of you guys may not remember the names of the people that he fought, but he fought Angel Man Freddy, he fought Emmanuel Augustus, he fought Diego Corrales, he fought Jose Luis Castillo 2 times. Those are like 5 fights just right there off the top of my head that Floyd Mayweather had when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, that is way better than the fights that a lot of people that Terrence Crawford has since he got to Top Rank. I think that, and honestly, man, I don't think that Bob Arum really protects black fighters. Like, I could say that, you know, and honestly, man, he really, as long as he has the people that are in, like that as long as the people are both at Top Rank, he'll make tough fights. He's not somebody that's afraid of making a tough fight when it's an in-house fight and he knows that he's going to get the winner. It's honestly, man, it's the PBC is more prone to having fights get messed up if both fighters are in the PBC. I probably need to check myself on that and see if that really, you know, holds true, but it seems like that's more likely to be the case. Because you had Keith Thurman for a long time refused to fight Errol Spence Jr., and nobody could make him do that. Maybe nobody can make him do that because they're both on the same side of the street. Because they are both independent contractors, and you can't make Keith Thurman fight him. And early on in Errol Spence's career, Danny Garcia wouldn't fight him, and Sean Porter wouldn't fight him either. Errol Spence actually had to leave and go fight on a Matchroom card to win the belt and bring it back before he was able to really get those good fights, you know? So, you know, I don't know. I think Top Rank, if he has both fighters, will make a good fight, like the Teofimo Lopez fight versus Vasily Lomachenko. If, you know, that was a case where that was a young prospect who was not very far along in his career, got a shot at a shot at a veteran, and, you know, and he won the fight. But, you know, that's the type of thing that is not necessarily all the way done. And Bob Arum deserves some credit for that. Bob Arum deserves credit for that fight, for sure. Victor Perez said, oh, where you at? Victor Perez, Castillo versus Mayweather 1 was stolen from Castillo because it was in-house. Mayweather started ducking when he started his promotion. Yeah, I mean, his competition level went down, but as his weight class went up. Once he got to 147, that's when he started picking the biggest names. But see, that's the difference. That's the difference between Floyd Mayweather Jr. I could understand if you got to the point, you know, where you could do that, but still, you know, that's pretty much the only shame that there is on Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s career, is that Floyd Mayweather Jr. didn't fight Kell Brook, he didn't fight Sean Porter, didn't fight Keith Thurman, right? Those are the three toughest fighters where Floyd was saying that he was the best in the world, he was #1 pound for pound. Then if that's the case, you should be fighting the best fighters that are in your weight class, or the best fighters that are around you. That's something that the cats did in the 80s and in the 70s. Not saying that all of the great fights were made, because clearly Sugar Ray Leonard had a little bit of, you know, he had a little bit of a prima donna in him the way he did. He didn't have the fight with Aaron Pryor. That would have been a great fight that I would have loved to have seen, but didn't get made. But for the most part, Sugar Ray Leonard made most of the fights that he said that he should have had. And I guess at the end of it, you just got to say, how many of these guys in their weight class have they not fought? And when it gets over like 2 or 3 guys that you've not fought who are around your same weight, then that's when I think that you get kind of tossed into that duck category, And like I'm saying, like there's pretty much 3 people that Canelo Alvarez needs to fight, in my opinion, and he'd shut me up completely. If he fought David Benavidez, if he fought Jamal Charlo, and he fought Demetrius Andrade, he would pretty much completely shut me up because there wouldn't be too much that I could really say about who he didn't fight, And maybe that's a scenario that he can get into now because he's the Caleb Plant fight, though. I guess that's a good fight, but still, just for aesthetics, something still looks kind of funny to me about the fact that Canelo Alvarez he's fighting like 15 consecutive white guys. That's the thing that kind of throws me like, huh? Except for, I don't know, what do you consider Yeldemir? I don't know if Yeldemir is a white guy or not. But, Copper Aborigine said Castillo fought his best fight against Floyd, and that's why many thought he lost, but Floyd didn't that fight. He didn't lose that fight. That fight was close. Yeah, man, that was a very close fight. I have to watch it again, but I know a lot of people that were there, and I know that for sure there was people in his camp that really thought that Floyd Mayweather lost that fight, but you can't say anything because Floyd got the rematch, came back in the rematch, and won the rematch. So it is what it is. If Jose Luis Castillo could have backed it up, then, he would have backed it up and he would have been able to beat it. He didn't bring the same fire because Floyd Mayweather Jr. figured him out and he didn't allow it to be as rough a fight. But Jose Luis Castillo was one of the most underrated lightweights, man. That dude was he was a beast. The classic fight for Castillo was that fight with Diego Corrales, man. I loved all of those, man. Natural 7, what are you, a Mayweather male groupie? Look, man, I don't understand why I can't do anything right. Like if I compliment a fighter, there's something wrong with me. If I say the guy ducked, there's something wrong with me. It's just, you can't win in any one of those scenarios. So no, I do not think I'm a Mayweather male groupie. However, I will tell you that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a hellified fighter. And if anybody says that Floyd Mayweather is not a hellified fighter, I think that you may just be, hating. Oh, he's talking to you. Hey, I'm sorry. I read that like, you know how I am. I'm going to read the comments like it's to me. Oh man, Hunter Young said, remember Floyd was stepping up in weight that first fight with Castillo? Yeah, it was his first fight at lightweight. But, it took him a little bit of time to get there. But, man, that Floyd Mayweather Jr., my whole point with Floyd, though, talking about Floyd was that, look, it is not Floyd Mayweather Jr. and what he did later in his career that defines him as a fighter, dude. What I'd found with Floyd Mayweather when I thought that he was the best was at the lightweights, man. Sugar Ray Robinson said, breaking news, GGG versus Benavidez. Are you serious? You playing with me, Sugar Ray Robinson? How is GGG versus Benavidez? That would be an amazing turn of events. Hey, Sugar Ray Robinson, tell me if you're being serious that GGG is fighting Benavidez, because that's got to be some. Troy Robinson said cap. Yeah, because I don't understand how that would take place. First of all, Gennady Golovkin would have to drop his belt at 160 pounds to go up to 168 and fight for something that didn't have a belt, man. My man TJ Boxing and Sports said, Fannon, skills pay the bill. Yeah, they do. And Floyd's got a ton of skills, man. That ain't no, but you haven't noticed that about it in boxing? If you support one fighter, then something is literally wrong with you because you're all like you're jocking somebody. And I just don't think that that's the case, man. It's possible to really have a appreciation and an admiration for a fighter, but still point out what they did that you don't like. Getting caught on this, my way or the highway as it comes to a fighter, to me, just doesn't make sense. I can look at things that Errol Spence Jr. does and say, hey, man, I don't agree with that. Like, for example, he doesn't want to fight Keith Thurman. I don't like that stance that he takes, because I think you should let bygones be bygones. And if you can make a good fight that matters, right, then make the fight that matters. And see, that may be a better way to approach the thought of it. It's like, are you making the fights that really matter to the division? Don Richie in that super chat, man. Thank you for the love, man. That really means a lot. He said each fight was questionable for Floyd. He granted a rematch and won. Who else can say that? Who can say that? I don't know, man, but it's a good thing to say that he did that, because if there was anything questionable, he did go back and try to fix that. Floyd's a great fighter, dude. He's just locked in. The only thing that I don't like is the only thing that bugged me. I'm going to say the only thing that bugged me about Floyd Mayweather in his career, and honestly, Victor Perez said, if you love boxing, you will like many great fighters unless you're just a groupie. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of groupies. There's a lot, man. Manny Pacquiao got more groupies than the law should allow, man. They'll just inundate you with a lot of drama, man. Just inundate you with it. Somebody said Yaldemir is a bum, and that's his race. Bum. He's in a race of bums, because that's a sparring partner that had no reason to do that. Is it me, or is it Steve? Is it blurry? I'm not sure. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can change the. All right, does that fix it? Sorry, man. I don't know. I just got this messed up stream today, man. It's just really messing up. Okay, nah, it's frozen. Yeah, it's better. I tried to go to it, but my internet keeps cutting off. So I'm just on a bad one today, man. I don't worry. In a couple weeks, I'm gonna switch up this internet and get it better. Sorry about that, man. Say what's up with Rolly calling Devin out, then running away. I hate these new boxers. Rolly Romero pretty much is just doing whatever he can do to, man, I don't know about this stream. This is just a bad day on the connection, man. That's just my bad. I hate that it's doing this, but this is AT&T. He's been getting me wrong for a while now. He said, if I had money, I would lose money to watch better fights. I am talking about Tio Haney, 20 million split. How you want it? Arrow would have beat Floyd. I don't know, man. Let me know if that cleared anything up. If that screen is less buzzy. Let me know if it is, man. Fannon, are you are like a historian when it comes to boxing. Always a good bet. Same game from you. Yeah, hey man, I definitely love the history of boxing. Shoot, I've been watching the boxing pretty much all my life. Okay, that's better. So I came in and out, and that worked better. That's what's up. It's that virtual classes for school that has a net tripping. Oh yeah, that could definitely be it. Yeah, but it is what it is, man. You gotta put up with it. Said Floyd was the best defensive boxer of our era. I'm not a fan of that style, but I'm not going to hate the facts that he was the best. Look, man, he really didn't turn into somebody that was so defensive until he got to fighting bigger fighters. And that's how you had to do it to make sure he didn't put himself at risk against the bigger fighter. So, it just is what it is. What's going on, Show Scotty says Chicago in the house. That's what's up. Nice to see you again, man. So, it is what it is, oh man. It is what it is. Riley is not only what's wrong with boxing, but also what's wrong with all these fruit ball weirdos popping up. Hey man, Riley Romero is just taking advantage. He's just taking advantage of what people have learned that they can do. If you make a bunch of noise and you talk outside the ring, you'll get a lot of attention for what you say versus what you're doing inside. Versus what's happening inside the ring. And that's just it. It's the internet. It's the internet. You're able to get your message out there real quick. You're able to get attention with your mouth. But if you look at how Riley Romero fights, I'm telling you, dude, that dude is like the fifth best. He's like the fifth best of like the last of all those young guys that are at that weight class. He's like the least of all of those guys that are at that weight class. Between Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Vasily Lomachenko, who else is out there? Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Tank Davis. Riley Romero is not in the top of any of those guys. You know what I mean? But he's got a mouthpiece, and to not fight Devin Haney, that's the problem with that's the problem that the WBC has with those belts that they have running out there, man. But it is what it is, man. This is what they want out of boxing, and nobody's taking a step forward to actually fix it. And they're trying to figure out how they can segment it even more and more, Sugar Ray Robinson said, Ray Robinson, the GOAT, period. Yeah, he is, but why are you messing with me with Gennady Golovkin and why are you messing with me with the Gennady Golovkin versus David Benavidez stuff? You trying to trick me? You think I don't know that they're not in the same weight class and it doesn't make any sense for Gennady Golovkin to fight him? Gennady Golovkin is trying to fight that Ray Murata for the WBA 160-pound title. I don't think he hasn't fought in a minute. Fannon, what is this? I can't see it. What you talking about, man? I don't get it. But no, shout out to the LDBC. Great bunch of channels. Great bunch of people. Victor Perez said, you see, Canelo was a good boxer, acting like Chavez Jr., but after his loss to Mayweather, he added his defense, shoulder roll, and much more. He's a great fighter, man. I see. That's where I can vacillate a little bit, man, because I think that your dude. He said, "I'm chilling. I'm not upset. I know you just getting me, man, but you was like, I just want to know if you're trying to test me. Like I thought I'd fall for that shit. I fall for some stuff, but that stuff right there, I was like, nah, I can't go with that one. But I know you're good people, Sugar Ray. How can you not be good people with a name like Sugar Ray Robinson? What is race? I'm not asking anybody to come here because of race. I'm not race baiting. I just don't get that. But if you don't fight black fighters, you don't fight black fighters. What do you want me to say? There are fighters that are black in this world. There are fighters that are Mexican in this world. And Canelo doesn't fight either one. Canelo doesn't fight Mexican fighters. He's not fighting Mexican fighters. He ain't fighting no black fighters. That's just what it is. If you can show me some fights where he's doing that, then, hey, man, it is what it is. You can show me somewhere where he's doing it. But from what I can see, no is the call on that, Don Banks said, these dudes just talking for the internet and not fighting, making my blood pressure spike. I need a bear right now. Does bear help with your blood pressure, man? My blood pressure's actually been good lately, man. I'm starting to feel good. I'm shedding some weight, feeling way better, man. What's going on? Big Noop in the building. What's going on, man? How you feeling with my man, Big Noopy in the building? What's going on with you? Crush the Legend says, Sugar Ray Robinson is the GOAT, not up for debate. Hey, man, if only problem that I would have with him is he can't actually beat Muhammad Ali in a fight. If you can't beat Muhammad Ali in a fight, then I got to wonder whether or not you're actually better than him. That's my excuse, because I am a Muhammad Ali groupie. Without a doubt, that is my guy 100% all the way through, every day, all day. That is definitely my guy, man. That would be a great fighter. in the 80s and 90s, Canelo would be a gatekeeper in boxing. He may be. In the 80s and 90s at middleweight, when Roy Jones was there, yeah, he would have, but it's not the 80s and 90s. So it is, and he may be a gatekeeper now. If they would fight, you don't know. But he was tucked up over there. He's tucked up over there underneath Eddie Hearn's underneath Eddie Hearn for the time being. He said, but if that happens, maybe we'll see GGG kiss the canvas for the first time. Man, Gennady Golovkin is a solid fighter, dude. Very, very solid fighter, but one of the most overhyped fighters that I can remember, man. Oh my God, man. He was so overhyped by HBO. He's the killer. He's so man. No, he's not, dude. Do you realize that Gennady Golovkin does not really have a good win? Like, seriously, like Gennady Golovkin does not have a hallmark win in his career. At least, Canelo Alvarez can say that he has Gennady Golovkin, but he just really doesn't have it. He had a reputation. He has a reputation for being ducked, is what he has. He has a reputation for being ducked. And that's it, man. I think dude, definitely one of the most overrated fighters in boxing, man. No doubt about it. Dice said, Ali was a great fighter, but I don't get lumping his outside the ring battles with his in-the-ring accolades. You can look at his in-the-ring accolades, and his inside-the-ring accolades may make him the greatest of all time. Without talking about the outside of the ring. Dude, man, Muhammad Ali's record is off the chain. You look at all the people that he beat. Look, you could go look at the people Muhammad Ali actually beat and look at who they fought. That will tell you how good a fighter Muhammad Ali is. You can't just look. You got to understand this dude literally did, over the course of 20 years, fight everybody, where there was literally nobody that this dude didn't fight. And in fact, that's the one credit that I will give Manny Pacquiao, that Manny Pacquiao was somebody that you can't find anybody that Manny Pacquiao ducked, in his career. You can't. So it's kind of the same thing with Muhammad Ali, but Muhammad Ali has bigger wins. Like just the 2 wins off of Sonny Liston and George Foreman put him way up there as far as what he was able to achieve, man. John Mayfield said, well, if you're going to go there, how many black fighters has Tank fought? None. Let me tell you, not one. He's following Mayweather did an exact. That's my John Mayfield. That is my point. Exactly 100%. I agree. If you had expected to get an argument with me out of that one, you're not going to get an argument with me out of that one, because what you're saying is true. I don't see him fighting any black fighters, period, because that's how Floyd Mayweather Jr. and because pretty much he's all of Mayweather Promotions. Similar to how like Canelo Alvarez was all of Golden Boy. Gervonta Tank Davis is all of Golden Boy. I mean, all of Mayweather Promotions, because I don't know. Oh yeah, man, Foreman was scary with his power. That's a minute Richard Hill. Yeah, I don't know I lost my train of thought. Damn, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, maybe y'all can remind me. Oh yeah, there you go, John Mayfield. Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know of another Mayweather Promotions fighter that is anywhere near what Tank is. So Tank is paying the bills over there at Mayweather Promotions, similar to how Canelo Alvarez was paying the bills over with Golden Boy. So it's going to be definitely tough, man. King Tio, I like how you did that, because that way we can separate the heavyweights from everybody else. Where you say number 1 is Ali, number 2 is Larry Holmes, number 3 is Holyfield, number 4 Lewis, and number 5 Lewis. I would change that. I would say number 1 is Ali, number 2 is Jack Johnson, number 3 is probably Larry Holmes, number 4 Joe Louis, number 5 Lennox Lewis, and then after Lennox Lewis, I would say Lennox. I would put a bucket of them together like Jack Dempsey, And what's my man's name out there? Rocky Marciano, guys like that at heavyweight. But also, as greatest of all time, I would put Sam Langford in there because Sam Langford was a middleweight that fought all the way up to heavyweight. He was not a guy that was weighing that 200 pounds, man. Said he beat Foreman when Foreman was in beast mode. Yeah, and he beat Liston when Liston was in beast mode. He was like massive underdogs in both of those fights, and those guys were the heavyweight champions at the time. Those weren't guys that people were wondering, like, how do they, are these guys good or then there wasn't a bunch of belts at the time. Muhammad Ali, when he was a heavyweight champion, was the only champion that there was in the heavyweight division. That's not the same scenario as we have now. When Floyd Mayweather Jr. was a champion in any weight division, there was always at least another 2 champions in the division. But when Ali fought in anything pretty much before the early like 1978, everybody before that, there was really only one champion. Everybody knew who the champion was, and there wasn't all those weight divisions to where you ain't really a champion. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like I still say that, like in a historical standpoint, you got to move these cruiserweights into the heavyweights. You got to move those 168 pounders into the 175. You got to move the 154 into 160, the 140 into 147, the 130 into 135, the 118, the 122 into 126. You know what I mean? The 115 into 118. All of those weight classes, you need to shift all those in-between ones up one to really get a perspective of what guys were doing and the level of competition that they would have to fight to win. So because that means you have bigger disadvantages for guys. So like when Henry Armstrong fought, he won. He had titles in 3 different divisions, right? And 126, 135, and 147. But now that would span 126, 126, 130, 135, 140, and 147, which would have been a lot more difficult for him to do because he would have organized the fights to get the fights. But still, man, those guys are, what Gamboa ain't black. Gamboa's black. Who said Gamboa wasn't black? You talking about Terrence? Terrence Crawford fights black fighters. Terrence Crawford had one of Terrence Crawford's my favorite fight with Terrence Crawford is a black fighter, Hank Lundy. Man, Hank Lundy came in there to win, man. That was a Hank Lundy versus Terrence Crawford. That's one of my favorite fights. He also beat what's his name? Diaz. Felix Diaz, the Dominican. Now, depending on whether or not he says he's black or not, I can't speak on that, My man Michael Kirkland said, Fannon, boxing would be worse off if not for Al Heyman and the PBC. As of right now, yes. But I would, you know what I want? I want somebody to take over boxing. No, Ali was never accused of performance-enhancing drugs. Performance-enhancing drugs wasn't a really big thing at that time. And honestly, you can tell that he wasn't because of the way his body was shaped. He wasn't taking any drugs and any stuff like that. These guys right now today are taking a bunch of performance-enhancing drugs, even if it's legal. Even if what they're doing is legal, it's still a performance-enhancing drug, in my opinion. So when you do those comparisons, Kevin O'Neill said, I agree that most fighters take caution in fights. Bro, yeah, as of right now, man. Oh, David Erasmo said, Ernie Shavers, Ken Norton, George Foreman, 3 victims of Ali. Yeah, and he had them when later in his career. That's the second half of his career. That even when he was in his prime in the 1960s. In the 1960s, he's just like godlike to behold in the boxing ring, man. That dude was crazy good in the original human highlight film. The original human highlight film. Sadiq Brown said, peace, Mr. Martin. Hope all is well. Salute to the chat, man. Everything is good. I can't complain about nothing. Up early this morning talking boxing with you guys. Make sure you guys ain't big on the questions this morning. I've had to really drive the conversation. I don't mind it, but I definitely like when you guys interact and put down questions in the comment section. David Benavidez has the potential to take over boxing. Before he does that, though, David Benavidez has to be able to take over himself, man. and not getting, not losing his belts, on the scale, man, or losing his belts, in the drug testing lab, Donato Lopez, what's your opinion of the zone? I really don't understand some of the fans' hate towards it. Me as a consumer, I'm content with fights, and they put out all this year for $100. Look, if you're a UK boxing fan, then I can see, or you're a really, really, really hardcore boxing fan that really likes to watch any fight that you get to see, then the zone is no problem. But if you're looking to see really good fights, the zone is just watering down. It's just watering down the networks, honestly, because they have like the fighters that they keep fighting on the zone. If they were over fighting on Fox or Showtime, you would have more quality fights to be made. It's just on the real. It's just an extra network. It's just an extra network. It's just an extra network to take away certain fighters, like the fact that Devin Haney was sitting over there. If Devin Haney is fighting on even if Devin Haney is fighting on Top Rank, you know what I mean? You're going to have more guys in the lightweight division in Top Rank. I think all of this division and all of this stuff is what is a big part of the problem, Wow, if I ask this question like this, Cassius Clay versus Muhammad Ali, who wins? I got Cassius Clay. I got Muhammad Ali because Muhammad Ali is Cassius Clay, and here's the trick. Here's the trick on that question. Because Cassius Clay was done before the Sonny Liston fight. He fought Sonny. He changed his name right after the Sonny Liston fight when he became champion. So all of the 1960s, after he won the belt, from 1960, what was it, 1963? What was it, 1963, something like that? Or 1964, I can't remember the year. 1964 all the way to the end, that was 100%, that was all Muhammad Ali, man. Much love in that super chat, man. Holding it down the chat today. Thank you, sir. My man Michael Kirkland said, Fannon, Ali, Pryor, Spence, Hagler, Wilder, Benavidez are types of fighters I like. Facts about speaking on Ali was never counted out during 10 during his career. No, he wasn't. And honestly, he ended his feet. He quit on the stool. The fight got called on the stool against Larry Holmes, but that was just a wrap. That was a money fight for him, man. You know what I mean? Which is something around Manny Pacquiao, man. I wonder if this fight is a money fight for him. But I tried to stay clear in this conversation of Manny Pacquiao because I didn't want to have more of the Philippines getting mad at me and, getting on me, dude. Oh, he said 1964 officially. Thank you. 1964, I thought, when did Malcolm X get assassinated? He got assassinated in 64. Man, that was some crazy stuff back there when all these cats was getting shot, man. Sugar Ray Robinson said, Loma's one of the most overrated and overhyped fighters of all time. Like Larry Bird, I appreciate more of Lomachenko now than I did when they were overhyping him. Because when they were talking about he's better than Ali, he's better than this and all that, that's all that stuff coming out of the mouth of Bob Arum. But truth be told, Vasily Lomachenko is a great fighter, man. That dude can fight. You know what I mean? Like, that dude is a seriously good fighter and definitely is one of the best fighters today. That dude can fight. I didn't like how they were overdoing it, trying to put him, he was number one pound for pound over Terrence Crawford. I didn't think that was necessarily right. My man Richard Hill said, how do you feel about Spence recovery? Man, I hope that it goes well, man. And I hope he takes his time coming back and that he makes sure that he gets his eye all the way healed. But from what but I'll just trust him on it. I think that he's a grown man who will make good decisions with his body. And, All right, here we go. Had to go that again, man. I'm sorry, man. This network is just jacked up, man. Hey, sorry about that, man. I just got this crazy bad internet connection today. I'm gonna bounce back. Hopefully this will be fixed now. I heard Errol Spence actually had a torn retina repaired. This is frustrating, man. Sorry about that, man. This thing has just been going, just got a really bad connection this year, but we working it out. I got to switch between the two connections. Do I think? No, I don't think he'll be back this year, but I do think he'll be back the first half of next year because he said that it really doesn't take that long. I think they said that the healing process was something like a week to like 2 to 4 weeks or something like that. So before you can get back to regular activities, but I think it'll depend. He's already had the surgery and it seemed like the surgery they almost treated it as if it was pretty routine. But I know for sure that is a serious injury to your eye. And, you really don't want to play. You really don't want to play with your eyes. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, we'd be better to find a new meeting spot. I think YouTube is done. Why do you think YouTube is done? I don't think there is. I mean, where are you going to find a better meeting spot than YouTube? It's going to be tough. But let me know where it is. I'll sign up because I definitely want to be able to talk boxing. Credulous said, Tank haven't shown great boxing ability to me. I think he has been outboxed his last 2 fights. Power bailed him out. What you guys think? Well, power bailed him out. You got to be able to get there in order to officiate, to use that power, So, I think you got to be able to get there to use that power. And he's able to get there and get the job done, That's what I think about it. He got the job done. If you knock somebody, like I heard what Gary Russell Jr. was saying about it, like he eventually won, he managed to win the fight, but if you get past, but he was losing other rounds, he was losing the fight. And if you have a fighter that's more defensive, somebody may be able to carry that out for the totality of the fight. I understand that that's real, but you know what, man, that's a little bit of a haterism now that I see that. Hold on. I thought my internet was acting up. Nah, man, it's my internet's acting up, man. Your internet should probably be cool. I realize that's a little bit of hatred you put on me there, man. Talking about not coming to YouTube, man. If you don't come to YouTube, I'm gonna holler at you. Is it true DAZN pulled out of the U.S.? What are your thoughts? I don't know if they pulled out of the U.S. or not. I know that they don't have anybody on their cards in the U.S. This year. So that's what I know. Try T-Mobile internet. It has $50 a month plus 150 megabytes download, 20 megabytes upload. I just need to go back to Google Fiber, man. And that's what I'm gonna do, man. I'm going back to Google Fiber because I switched to AT&T and I've been having problems with my internet ever since I switched to AT&T. But look, I'm gonna get up out of here a little bit early, man. Thank you guys so much for coming in. He said better than YouTube Theta. It's a cryptoverse, just not as big yet. Yeah, that's the problem. It's not how you're going to get something that is big and as many people, because that's why, because there's a good number of people that come in to the chat. That's what I like to do. I like to talk to a lot of people, but it is what it is. But look, I'm gonna get out of here this morning. Thank you guys. I apologize for my internet acting up, but it is what it is. And with that, I'm out. Peace.